Okay, Bob, you got cut off by the break there. You know, it's almost like being tied to railroad tracks. We know the bank's engaged in it premeditatedly. Everything we talked about years ago is now mainstream news, but they don't get in trouble. I was talking about how they're just throwing everything in our face now. I mean, I'm even shocked by the spy reporter for the Washington Post, coming out and saying, yeah, the government makes fake Al-Qaeda tapes. It's for your own good. And then they act like it's a joke and fun. Or, yeah, we're growing the opium. Why do you think they're doing this, Bob?
Well, I think because just what Mr. Hart said in the previous conversation, they arrogantly think we're stupid. They think we can't understand nor can we do anything about what they're doing. And so the manifestation is that they continue to become more brazen in saying, we are your masters. And that's their attitude, and that's why they're doing what they're doing. They're full of power. But I think Mr. Brzezinski is trying to bring them back down to earth, so to speak, by telling them, look, we got a terrible problem out here. Everybody knows what we're doing. Maybe not everybody, but too many people.
Well, his quote was, for the first time in human history, all of the world is politically awake to our agenda. I mean, and I mean, that's a big deal. And I noticed the CFR people weren't doing their usual arrogant, looks. They looked concerned. But let's hope that they don't listen to Brzezinski and continue the hubris, because an enemy that is aware that we're waking up is a lot more dangerous.
Absolutely. And if we don't tell them that we know what we're doing until the right time, if we don't tell them we know what you are doing until the right time, then they're wandering around in the wilderness because they still think that they can do anything that they want. Hence, yes, we're growing the poppies there in Afghanistan, and all the guys that call in and email in on my programs with the military. Yeah, I was guarding the poppies last night. And there's hundreds of them. And so we know it's happening. So I guess they're saying, well, we may as well throw it in their face.
Oh, boy, I tell you. It's just, I mean, I guess if they stole $28 trillion and counting, if they're openly on the news talking about poisoning the water to sterilize us, which they're already doing, but now they're announcing it, I think it's more than just arrogance. I think they're psychologically just conditioning us to accept even bigger horrors in the future. Bob Chapman, what will the unfolding depression look like here? I mean, I guess when 80 million are on food stamps, not just 40 million, they'll tell us we have a 5% unemployment or something. I mean, how long do they think that'll hold? Because I don't think their police state is going to work, even with a dumbed-down population. When they're taking everybody's houses and taking people's homes for $300 water bills and $1.50 toll road bills, I just don't think it's going to fly.
Well, there's a lot of bubbas out there, and they're just sitting and waiting to see what they're going to do. And it isn't going to fly. It's just that it would be much nicer that in order to achieve what we want, in order to be able to do that through the system. And that's why next November is so important, to kick them all out with minor exception. And we seem to be headed in that direction. I hope it continues vis-a-vis the primaries and what's happened.
Yeah, let's talk about that. You've got Rand Paul winning by 30-plus points and still 20 points ahead in all the major polls. Soros put out a fake poll saying he's about to lose, just their own polling agency, completely fake. You've got the first Republican in 20 years elected in Hawaii to the House. You've got every incumbent, whether it's Utah or Colorado, both parties, Specter, they're all gone. And Ron Paul agreed 2 days ago on the show, this is not a realignment where it's one party or the other. This is a realignment against the entire power structure, and it's happening in Iceland, in Greece, in England, in Germany. But the elite doesn't care. They keep ramming forward. What's their race in the hole? So let's speak about the realignment, and then why do you think they're still so arrogant?
I don't think they have an ace in the hole. I think they're bluffing, and we're going to call their bluff. And all of those trillions of dollars that they're accumulating, we're going to remove them from them somewhere along the way. If they think they're going to keep them, they're crazy. They're not going to win. They don't have an ace in a hole. Sure, they're going to do the things that we expect them to do, which every, we'll call it rotten government, nose of control that have done for the last 2,000 years. This is nothing new. You brought out the fact earlier in the program of the Romans, the bred circuses and gladiators, and let's just keep them dumb and keep them happy, and we can continue in power. And so this is what they think they're going to get away with, but they're dealing with a different group of people throughout the world today who are not going to take it anymore. They know what's going on, enough of them, and a lot more will know before we get there. And so I think they've made a terrible mistake. And I think Zbigniew Brzezinski is realizing that, and most of them are not.
Well, that's the issue. I'm glad you keep bringing up Brzezinski, but we should probably play that again next hour for the folks that haven't heard it. At a CFR meeting, I mean, he's one of the top living globalists. Kissinger's kind of floating off. This is the main foreign advisor, geopolitical analyst for Obama. He's one of the most respected New World Order ringwraiths. And they are, I mean, really respect what he has to say. And here he is basically saying what we say every Friday, Bob, that this is the first time that the whole world has woken up to the fact that politicians are puppets. There's a banking elite. And that's basically what Ron Paul said 2 days ago here. So this is a big deal to have one of the top enemy generals admit we're blowing the hell out of them.
I've been waiting for this for 50 years. And I'm just unhappy that Gary Allen and Alan Stang and Eustace Mullins aren't around to see it. And there's still G. Edward Griffith and myself and Anthony Hilder. But we worked towards this for a long, long time, and it's coming to fruition, and it just shows if you believe in something, don't ever compromise and don't ever give up.
Yeah, that's why we had Miss Oklahoma on, who was ahead in all the previous rounds, but wouldn't be against states' rights in Arizona, so they took it away from her. And she feels good about not being Miss USA and all the millions of dollars that come with that in endorsements, because she told the truth. And you really have to honor that you know, there she was, and she said, you know, she gave the unpolitically correct answer.
And that's wonderful, and that's what America's all about. And that's what humanity's all about. And, you know, again, I refer to your previous guest, Mr. Hart. He had it all together. He understands. And he's trying to impart it to everybody, and I think that's wonderful.
Well, he also made the point about a love-hate relationship with Americans, and I have that as an American. I mean, I've studied a lot of other cultures, societies, been around the world not as much as you, Bob, and the American people are the most dumbed-down, decadent, slob-like creatures on average. But we're also, if you can actually get them educated, some of the most, you know, intelligent, hard-working, hard-charging, non-compromising, idealistic people. Well, that's why they put the fluoride in the water. That's why they started TV here. That's why we're under so much brainwashing, is because the system knows that. We're under the greatest assault.
Because we have the greatest potentiality. And Europe as well. And, you know, years ago I said they're going to take Europe and the United States down. And, you know, I wrote about this in 1967. I said the only way they can implement world government is to bring us to our knees so we'll be forced to accept it. And I even at that time talked about what we call today free trade, globalization, offshoring, and outsourcing. It was one of the ways that they could decimate American and European industry. And so they did it. Not because I said it, because I figured out what they were doing. But very few people did.
And now we know that's their Bible, and they admit it. And they also lied to the third world and said, global government's going to be good. We're going to rob the West, who's been exploiting you, when it was the same globalists that have been exploiting them, not the West. They've just been using us as pirate bases. And, oh, the Copenhagen Treaty, we're going to put big taxes on the rich people of the Europe and the U.S., England, Canada, Australia, and we're going to give the money to you. And then they got the treaty. It was right at double taxes on them in Latin America, Africa, and Asia what it is on us. It was designed to really lower them even further and then lower us down further. It's not, you know, the standard liberal, neo-colonial, neoliberal statement of, oh, we're going to raise the poor and lower the West so it's fair. It's everybody going down. Bob Chapman.
That's right. Destroy them all. Make them accept us as their masters, and then we can implement anything they want. Well, they get discovered in the process. And I think one of the reasons why is that they should have moved years ago. They had a much better opportunity in the late 60s and during the 70s